platform, which will be great. So we are live. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
One thing I don't like about this platform is that we can't see who is joining us, which drives
Oh,
me, I know,
well,
it drives
hey,
me nuts.
anyway.
I know, we could be
Hi,
here alone
everyone.
or we could be here with 5 million people. So if you're here with us, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know you're here. We can't respond, but we can give shout outs and stuff, which is always fun. So let us know if you're here joining us. Let us know if you have questions along the way or thoughts or, just chime in. And it's always fun to see where people are joining from. We've had people from all over the world, which is a lot of
Oh,
fun.
really? Wow.
I know. It's like we've had folks from Kenya, Canada, all over the
That's awesome.
States, Mexico. So it's super exciting. Oh, hey, Michelle. Okay, so awesome. Hey, Bob. Um, so it's great when folks jump in. If you're new here, I'll just share a little bit about what Unmuted is. It's a platform that I created for female leaders. It's crazy to say I've been doing this work for like 19 years now.
Yeah.
um,
Almost will be your 20th year anniversary.
right there along with you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I mean, along the way, you meet some pretty amazing people. And I realized that I've been meeting all these amazing women and I get to meet them, or if you're lucky enough, you get to meet them, or maybe you're working with them or partnering with them, or you see them speak at a conference. But outside of that, it's like, how do you get to know folks, or how do you get to learn about the amazing work they're doing, or what brought them into the space, or the lessons they've learned along the way. And so that's why I created this space.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's been really wonderful. This is our 14th or 15th episode. I'm kind of losing track now.
Wow.
I know. I am shifting away from this platform, so it's not going to be on LinkedIn anymore. Just as a heads up to folks, I created a YouTube channel, which is exciting. That's a big feat in itself. Check 2026, you're done. And so create a YouTube channel where people can more easily find this, because it's been hard for folks to find. Actually, a lot of people reach out to me and say, can you send me the link? I can't find it on LinkedIn. And honestly, myself, when I Google it or look at it on LinkedIn, try to search it, it's hard to find. So I'm going to be housing them on my website too, so people can watch the past episodes more easily. It's easy enough to do that. And so we'll put them there so people can catch up. Because there's been some really great conversations and some really awesome golden nuggets that people have been sharing. So it's nice for folks to be able to easily go back and look at that, because you can't always make it live.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you're new here, that's a little bit about Unmuted, and then some changes we're going to make. Hey, Kim, it's great to see you. Glad you could join. I know it's hard for you to join too in the middle of the day. A few other things. I'm the founder of Page Capacity Builders, which is a social impact consulting firm. We mostly focus on strategy and coaching and advising work in the social impact sector. And another exciting thing is that we've launched the Unmuted Power Lab, which is kind of an extension of this space. I know, I'm so excited. We had our first networking event. It's a female-only virtual networking space. And we had that first event January 30th. We had 45 amazing women come from all over the globe. It was super exciting. And the feedback has been incredible. We're going to host the next one on April 24th. You'll see some of my posts on LinkedIn about it, or if you're subscribed to my newsletter, you'll get some information about it. But you can also always reach out and ask. I can send you the link to register. But register for that. And it was a lot of fun. So hopefully folks can join us for that. Yeah, that was crazy. I couldn't believe 45 women showed up and had some really awesome conversations. All right. So I'm going to hand it over to our amazing guest, Danielle. Danielle, feel free to share whatever you'd like to share about yourself. I have had the pleasure of knowing you for my whole
Long time.
career. My whole career. Oh, and Unslow's here.
Hey, Unslow.
That's awesome. Same with Unslow. Known you my whole career.
Long time. Mm-hmm.
Long time. Yeah, so we started working together. For me, it was my entree into the nonprofit sector at the Center for Urban Families, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Danielle was my boss. And she was the most amazing boss. Exactly. You see how she approaches leadership right there, boss. And I learned and still learn so much from you every single day. Even when I'm thinking back on things that you taught me 18 years ago, I still think about those things. And I love our relationship. I love that we still get to partner. We still get to work together. And I love the times that we get to spend just like personal time together. And, that's what it's about. That's what it's all about. And I try to explain that type of special relationship to people. It's hard.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's hard to find those special relationships that endure over
really
time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And play a lot of different roles in life, right?
That's true.
And is impactful in a lot of ways. So anyway, I said I was turning it over to you, and then I talked a lot. So I'm really going to turn it over to you to give you the stage and just share whatever you'd like to share with our audience.
Oh, awesome. Well, first, I have to say, Paige, I remember when this was an idea, and I'm so inspired by you actually creating a space for these types of conversations. I think I was just talking to a client the other day about the post-pandemic environment, and it feels probably weird to still use that language, but I think that a lot has shifted about in the social sector and how we show up and what spaces we're in even now. And so this work of helping people to see each other, find each other, find a safe space for, these types of conversations and just like connection is really a special and important work. So I just want to appreciate you for creating this space and like having me here.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
You.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've heard my iterations of this.
Yeah, no, all great iterations as well.
Yeah.
So I think you were asking me to share a little bit about myself
before
we dive into conversation. Okay, so
yeah.
So I feel like I'm another sister in the work. So there's a whole crew of us that are in this kind of space of consulting, strategy and management consulting, advising. I say coaches in air quotes because I'm not like a certified coach, but often we show up in coaching and advisory capacities and facilitative capacities, and working with a range of different types of leaders and organizations across the sector. So that's anywhere from grassroots, community-based organizations to large, public entities and agencies, foundations, philanthropic intermediaries, community-serving intermediaries as well. And like you, I find myself working with folks across the organizational life cycle in any of those contexts. So sometimes it's like early stage. I've got an idea and I'm trying to take that idea into like a clear concept and clarify mission. And then there's the work of figuring out how to organize. And so that early stage startup work, sometimes it's work around growth and evolution, especially in the times that we're in. We see a lot of organizations and institutions in a state of flux, and like also leaders like asking deep questions and important questions about the best strategy and to achieve mission and the best approaches to operationalizing their mission, especially with so many challenges in the policy landscape and sustainability. And then even like work around transition and sunset. That has been a bit of a trend as well. So like you, we often kind of show up across that spectrum and in supporting folks. And often I'll show up at the intersections of racial justice, social justice, and economic justice. That's my kind of content orientation, although my work is not limited to that. So you and I, we actually had the opportunity to come together years ago around workforce development and family strengthening work for Black and brown families in Baltimore, right? So that is one frame of reference, and a lot of the work around now, like restorative economies and new economic systems and access to capital, that shows up in my work as well. So that's a little bit about me and what I've been up to.
I love it. How did you get into this type of work? What drew you to this? This isn't one of the questions that we're asking, but
wow, that's a good one.
I think folks know, like, you do some very deep and impactful work that affects a lot of people and a lot of community, and over time, and that has shifted systems and how they function. It is something to draw, somebody into that. And I mean, you inspire me every day in that work, because it is hard work. It is hard work.
Hard but fruitful, right?
Hard but fruitful. Yeah. I mean, when you see the impact of the work, it's just like, wow, this, all of it was worth it. But what drew you to this?
It's such a good question. I think it's such a good question for all of us. Like, what draws us to any path that we find ourselves on? I think there's a combination of, what do they say? When you make plans, God laughs. Like, you think you have a sense of what path you're on, and then there's a way that life evolves and kind of shapes you and shapes the path that you're on. And I just start with that recognition that some things have taken shape in spite of me, and I've learned over time to embrace that rather than resisting that, but like paying attention to that flow. But I would say, this type of work has always shown up in a number of different ways, whether it has been in family or community when someone has an idea and they're like, hey, can you help me to get that thing on paper? Or, hey, I need a grant, or I need to find some resources for this thing I'm doing. It's like those conversations where someone has a spark of inspiration. And I think that that's a very special moment and kind of a sacred work to actually be entrusted in partnership with a person to say, oh, okay, let's think that through. Let's sit in a space of possibility and think about how to take that idea or that spark of inspiration and actually turn it into something. So I feel like for myself and for so many of us in this work, that thread has shown up formally or informally for us for many years. Like, we find ourselves as those people that are trusted to sit with a person and plan, whether that's in personal or professional capacities. And then I would say, even in our early stage of career, working for an organization and working for a team, that was essentially our role was to listen to our teammates and counterparts that were in the work of direct service and in direct interaction with the people that we're serving every day, to say, okay, what do they need? What are the gaps? What are the challenges? And how do we strategize to bring resource to the work, to develop framework around the work so that we can communicate about it and raise awareness. And so it also showed up in that type of capacity of working in-house. And then I would say, when I became a funder and worked for a grant-making institution, that added a different lens around the challenges and opportunities associated with bringing capital to the work. Because often what happens is that you have someone who's interested in a funding opportunity, but usually there's more work there to say, oh, okay, what is the investment opportunity? What are we bringing resource to? And very often there are these trusted folks that come into play to say, oh, actually, let's help to get that on paper. Let's actually think about how to resource the work over time and what's sustainable. So I'd say that's been a bit of the path. And even working in the policy environment, thinking about policies and structures and their impact on the work as well. So I would say that's one element of the history. And then I would say there's been moments of crisis, or there's been a gap where something's breaking. And then there's a need for folks to kind of step in, again, in a trusted capacity with other leaders and collaboratives to figure it out. And so I came into the work of consulting first through an executive loan capacity, where someone said, hey, my institution doesn't have capacity to get this thing done. This was within the context of the uprisings in Baltimore. And so I went out from the Casey Foundation on assignment to assist an agency, and just loved that work of being able to say, hey, I'm here for a period of time. I'm just here to help. What are you trying to get accomplished, right? And working through all of the challenges, but also the joys of working in that capacity. And so that's what sparked the idea of, oh, you know what? Like, folks can actually do this. This could actually be a job. And actually seeing those folks in consultative and advisory capacities who play those important roles in so many different spaces.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so many different spaces. I love it. Okay, let's dive into our questions.
Okay.
Our real questions. Yeah, I think about all that. I remember those days. It was exciting.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That was the one was that 1B4J?
1B4J. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, when you start to realize, and the word like spark, you know, like you see that in others, you see that for yourself. It really, you become drawn to it, especially when you've already been doing the work. And now you're able to like do it in a different way. It really just like breathes life back into the space. I love that. All right. So our first question that we've been asking everybody, all of our amazing guests, and these are all like leadership centered.
Okay.
So what mindset shift has most shaped the way you lead today?
You know, I would say two things in response to this. One, time and value. Two, thinking about the work through a generational lens. Time and value I share because it has been a real lifelong, and will be, I think forever, a lifelong learning journey of how to own my own value and encourage others to do the same in this work in a way that says, I value myself enough not to dishonor myself in the process of serving others. And by that, I mean overextension, overwork, coming from a crew of folks, long legacy of folks who wear that as a badge of honor, like, I'm going to pour myself literally into the work that I do as an act of love and care and from a place of passion. But then the older you get, the more we realize how many of our folks are not doing well. Seeing our elders literally transition in seats without the opportunity to really pass it along and really enjoy life. And, just seeing the toll that takes. So, and also becoming a mom, I should say, like as a working mom, there's a way that motherhood humbles you. And then you realize, as a parent, there are different demands and pulls for my time. And so there's a different stack of priorities, right? And so I would say learning to value time and effort and labor in a way that helps me to think different about the act of leading and also supporting others and working with others, and always looking for that as a part of how we design strategy, like factoring that in rather than making that secondary would be the first thing I would say. And also, like as a consultant, I mean, we often talk about value, seeing folks like pour into a thing without being fairly recognized or compensated, and just paying attention to that, right? And helping to, with love, shine a light on that pattern and break and disrupt that pattern for so many of us, especially as women of color in the work. Like we owe it to each other, and that's a collective work. I say generational lens because there's a way that we think about progress, and it can be very frustrating if you're only thinking within the context of like programmatic life cycles, year-to-year budgeting, and it's like you almost feel like, oh my gosh, there's so many fits and starts to the work. And you become limited in terms of how you think about what to draw from in terms of solutions. When you start to adopt a more of a generational lens and saying, hey, our job is to pass this work along to the next generation, and I'm working as an extension of the generations that came before us, then it unlocks all kinds of possibilities in terms of what we're drawing from, in terms of historical lessons and context, and there've been highs and lows and we've made it through. And then it changes your framework. It's like, I'm important, but not that important, right? Like I've got my role, but it's to pass it along, right? And so you start thinking about educating, training the next generation, and ways of passing it along, right? And I think that's really important in the social sector, especially as we think about succession, and also how
Yes.
we think about progress in the process of change, especially in such difficult times. So a generational lens also helps to find that source of inspiration to say, we as generations have experienced periods and seasons of difficulty. And we have multiple examples of making it through and thriving. And how do we draw from that insight and that wisdom?
Yeah, I love that. It's hard to tell the story, if you don't give that space for it.
Yeah.
Or even to your point around value of time, if you don't give even the value of time to that part of it in that way, Yeah, it's so, so true. Okay, our second question. What's a risk that you've taken that has changed everything for you?
I think starting a business, I'm just going to say that entrepreneurship is not for the faint of the heart,
No.
and that's like in whatever model you choose. I think it's like whether you're full time or like have like a part time type of kind of like a hustle or so. I think that entrepreneurship and the act of starting a business and thinking in an entrepreneurial way, for me at least, like I'd seen it modeled in like family, but that act was one of courage, breaking away from, again, going back to leadership, more traditional notions of leadership and like how I might use my time and where I even show up. And so I would say, again, starting a business, taking a leap, saying, oh, I think I have something of value to offer to my community, but through a different model, testing that. There are many moments where you're like, it's almost like the kid in the cafeteria where you're walking in with the tray and it's like, well, anybody want to sit with me? And then you realize, oh my gosh, like, there's so many folks that are out there to connect with. And I would also say, seeing the underrepresentation of women and women of color in many of these seats was also a source of inspiration, where it's like, actually, as a leader, like previously being in an executive position, I remember the feeling of finding consultants and advisors that felt aligned, like that understood lived experience as a working mother, or that were values aligned and philosophically aligned and really loved and cared for my community just as much as I did. And sometimes I think we take for granted how important it is to have folks in those kind of non-traditional roles that can come in for a period of time, flank a team or leader and provide that support that they need, and also know when to exit, And so that risk of taking a business has been, or starting a business has been so challenging, but also so, again, fruitful in terms of learning and stretch, so that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, I love that. You were my first contract
as
a consultant. When you were at the Casey Foundation. That was my first, and you gave me, and that gave me the, like, I recently I wrote about this in my newsletter that's going out. It was like, I've been reflecting on like how things started for me, especially as I started, and I didn't talk about this earlier, but the Spark program, where Danielle is actually a subject matter expert for the program that we're launching. So I know. And it's really, it's an accelerator for folks who want to do this work, because I've been reflecting on how I entered this work. Great. And, it's like, I'm so grateful for the network that I had built, and that I was entering in a space where people knew me well and knew my work already from being so local, hyper local, I guess. And I was very fortunate, but that is that's by chance, by luck. But you gave me that, just the confidence, I do have something to offer, because it's hard. It's really hard.
Excellent at it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you made it really easy. you make it easy to partner. And to your point about partnership and finding those values aligned consultants, to work with. I mean, that's a very real thing. Just because someone can do a task doesn't mean they're going to do it the same as the other person.
That's all right.
When it comes down to things like values and morals. And I always tell people, I'm not the right consultant for everybody.
That's right. Yeah, I
That's
say
not,
the same
yeah,
thing. And
that's not just,
there's room for a range of different types of people,
that's right.
which like having a level of diversity in these types of
Exactly.
positions is so important, right? And also
Yep.
collaborating and thinking creatively
Yes.
about ways of connecting around the work is
Yes.
also so important. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I love about when we collaborate is that,
Yep.
you know, yes, we do very similar things. Yes, we think very similarly, but we also think very differently. We also have different approaches to things or bring different perspectives from our own experiences. Yeah. And so it just makes for a rich partnership there. But yeah, the risk is real, but then you get all of these other amusing things.
No risk, no reward. That's what I'm
Right,
saying.
that's right.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Our last question. And if you're just joining us and you haven't jumped in the chat, let us know you're here. We can't see you. We'd love to know who's with us, and where you're joining from, or if you have questions or thoughts. All right. So our last question, I love this one. It's an interesting one, and I love the answers that folks have shared. What is a lesson you were taught about leadership that you've chosen to unlearn, you've chosen to shed or shift?
That leadership has to be a monolith. That there's an actual dominant kind of take on what leadership should look like. And I remember, just being someone that was just curious about, like, a nerd about organizational development literature and leadership development. And there was a time where in leadership studies, and all of the authors were, older white men, right? And that always, kind of intrigued me, but it was also something that, just kind of sat with as I moved through different stages of my own leadership. And then also had an opportunity, especially through this work, of working in support of so many different types of leaders, and just observing and kind of taking in, like, what models of leadership are actually serving us as people and also as communities. And what do we need to, like, interrogate, like, from a space of love, but also discipline, in terms of the fact that the model of leadership and the model of organizing has to match the issue. And if it's not effectively serving or meeting or addressing the issue, then it's our responsibility to take a step back and to think differently in new and creative ways. But often where we're met with resistance is our own kind of internally held mental models, which are shaped through so much, right? Like, if you sign on to, like, that podcast about, like, leadership techniques and models, like, you gradually, like, just kind of take these messages in, and we hold them as our own kind of paradigms. But what gives me hope, and what is quite inspiring, is to see all of the creative ways that people are breaking out of those models to say, hey, leadership can look like any of a variety of different things. Your own model of leadership can change and evolve over time, and it should. So, my approach to leadership as a single woman just out there with a little bit more time was one thing. Now, as, like, a woman with a family, that's a different thing. Or leadership in the context of more entrepreneurial kind of space, maybe one thing. There's also, like, shared leadership, distributed leadership models, folks thinking creatively around ways of resourcing, different ways of leading. And then also, I think, honoring all of the rich ways in which leadership shows up in our day-to-day kind of lived experience, like our families, our communities, like, who are the people that we've gone to for a source of anchoring, advisement, guidance, foresight, right? And when we start to think about it that way, we start to think about our own grandmothers and aunts and friends, right? And even from a peer-to-peer perspective, the ways that we lead in circle and in friendship and sisterhood, so that would be the thing, like, just breaking out of that a bit. Because as we think about all of what's happening in the world, we certainly need to be able to bring our best, to offer our best. And the models of leadership that we choose should serve that work. you know, and so that means that we have to break out of some outmoded ideas, then that's what we need to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. And that could be a risk,
but
one worth taking.
It could.
I love that.
We go it together. Yeah.
That's absolutely right. That's right. Calculated risks. Mm-hmm. Well, our time has come to an end. We're at 12:30. This conversation went really fast. I love everything you have shared. I really, really appreciate you being with us. I really appreciate it. Yeah. And I'm like, this needs to be an hour, not 30 minutes. I mean, we get to chat all the time. I know. Yeah. But I really appreciate everything you shared, especially around leadership. And I mean, there are so many ways. There is not one way. There's not one way to do something. And I love how you talked about the co-leadership. There's just so many different possibilities. But yeah, leaning into that and the values and the morals, not just related to consulting, but leading as well, right? Mm-hmm. I love that. But thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Everyone, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Take good care.